Good evening. Welcome to the Jefferson County Board of Education meeting on Monday, October 13th, 2025. If you'd please join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
I felt like we were in elementary school doing the musical rounds there, but we all ended eventually, so it's all good. All right, first thing this evening is the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the regular and special board meetings held September 22nd, 2025?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the minutes from the regular and special board meetings held September 22nd, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Next up, we have citizens' comments. Just a reminder, speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and speakers shall not engage in negative or derogatory statements that use a name or position which by persons may be identified. So let me just read that one more time. Speakers shall not engage in negative or derogatory statements that use names or positions by which persons can be identified. First up, we have Andrea Mitchell, followed by Sarah Brandenburg. If you give me just one moment to get to my timer here. All right, whenever you're ready, ma'am.
I am here on behalf as a parent, but also a teacher at Shepherdstown Elementary School. My daughter is a senior at Jefferson High School this year, and our school will be moving halfway through the school year. When my daughter realized that at the end of the year last year that her senior walkthrough would be at a building that she had never attended, she got a little upset and saddened, like, I never stepped foot in that building. I have no memories in that building. So colleague of mine and I approached our principal and asked if it would be possible if we could try to do a walkthrough in December before our building closes. We took it to our faculty senate and they approved, and they all agreed as teachers that they would like the seniors to come through that building. So I'm here asking you as a board if you could allow the seniors that are graduating Jefferson High School this year, that graduated from Shepherdstown Elementary School, if they could walk through their building that they went through with all their memories one last time before it closes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sarah Brandenburg, followed by Katie Snyder. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you again for giving me time to speak. I come here again as a voice for the parents of Blue Ridge. Tonight, I wanted to take a different approach and ask a few questions for you all to think about, questions that can help you all stand in our shoes as parents of Blue Ridge. How would you all feel if you showed up to the teacher night with your 8-year-old to find out almost a quarter of the staff had left over the summer and you were never notified? How would you feel if you had to ask your 8-year-old every day after school for 2 months if their teacher has arrived because you weren't getting updates from the school? How would you feel if you had to learn the school was going on a lockdown after school as your child was getting off the bus? How would you feel if your 8-year-old told you their whole grade was told by the principal that because some students were misbehaving, their field trip was going to be canceled? But since no notice was sent home, we haven't been able to address the issue. And now you just have an anxious 3rd grader waiting to find out if that trip is going to be canceled. How would you feel if you got a letter home addressed to your child's whole grade regarding vague, concerning behavior going on with a group of students in that grade with no further details to be able to address any issues or bring up any concerns? And finally, with all these examples, and after countless emails asking for better communication with the administration, how would you feel to get messages every week at the end of the week from the principal telling you what a great week we had? Because I don't know about you, we don't feel like we're having a great week. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Katie Snyder, followed by Liz Sutherland.
Hi, thank you. I'm going to answer Sarah's same questions that she asked you about how maybe if you were be put in the shoes of a parent. I'm one of those parents at Blue Ridge Elementary, and my child has come home and asked me every single one of those same questions. And I know as a parent and my child, we're worried. I'm scared. I don't know what's happening when I get false equivalencies of what is happening. I'll read the remarks from the teacher that say, it's been wonderful seeing how much growth our students have made already. And I'm so proud of all the hard work and effort each day. Now that's in contradiction to what we are told on other emails about the whole entire class being a disruptive unit as a whole, having consequences for actions when in reality, I have no idea who it is or how it's being addressed. I know that administration is taking part in threats, empty threats, hopefully, but these things are happening continuously since the beginning of school and at the end of the year last year. So I do really hope you look further and give us the communication that we deserve so that we can ensure our children's safety is not just our priority, but it's yours as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Liz Sutherland.
I just here, the same as Andrea Mitchell, about asking for the senior walkthrough. My girls were here. They're trying to get in the school right now, so they're a little lost. But just the same thing. They went to Jefferson Elementary and just want to go through that senior and have that feeling that they've seen siblings do and their friends do. And for that approval. Same as Ms. Mitchell. Thank you very much.
All right, next we have the consent agenda. Ms. Loring.
Good evening. Do not have any changes to the personnel actions that were submitted to you this evening for consideration.
All right, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
I'll motion it.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Upson. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
Right,
thank you, ma'am. Next, we have presentations and reports. First up, under instructional updates is a special program update. Mr. Wink.
Good evening. Before we begin the special programs update as presented here, I do want to give one staffing update. We were here in September, so I do want to build off of that for you. Currently, at Blue Ridge Elementary, our speech therapist is slated to begin on October 20th, which is Monday. And our occupational therapist is slated to begin on October 20th also, or the week of October 20th. It could be dependent upon when the student is able to see them. At Jefferson High, our speech therapist began last week seeing students, and the occupational therapist for Jefferson High will be beginning on the 20th, for the week of the 20th as well. So I did want to provide that staffing update to you as a build off of the September meeting. The presentation here tonight is a little bit lengthy. I do apologize for that, but I think that it is built off of our 2024 presentation format, but it's also built off of the likes of Mrs. Hillman's September meeting, presentation for you, which was very data-driven. And a lot of this is kind of compares to what her presentation was. So that's what we're looking at. Next slide there, please. We have 4 different focuses for tonight. As you can read those, the main one is our October 1 child count, which Dr. Bishop will be pressing the button on later on in the week, hopefully, if he hasn't already. Our ADA results, which came out in May, our GSA special education data, and then our department goals for the 25-26 school year. So if we begin with the child count, next slide there, please. We look at their student makeup. So for Jefferson County students, we have 1,298. That was that last capture, which I looked at it on Friday. Today, it could have changed. At any point in time, it can change, but we had 1,298 students. That represents 16.3% of our total population in Jefferson County. In 2024, we were at 1,292, and that represented 15.3%. So our percentage of students is up just a little bit. If you look at that compared to West Virginia, that's an important indicator because Dr. Bishop and I have conversations about every month where he is very cognizant of the pulse in terms of special education. Are we over-identifying or are we under-identifying? So if you look at West Virginia runs at 22.7%, and that was from the June 25. That was the latest data that I could get there. So I do not believe that we are over-identifying in Jefferson County schools compared to where West Virginia has their data at. In pre-K, students with an IEP, there are 90 students. They are not included in the K-12 data, of course. That is up 10 students from the same time in 2024. So our pre-K population for students with an IEP is up 10 students. Next slide, please. Oh, you got it. So our enrollment, this is something we have not reported out in the past, but it's something that I think that we need to understand. From July 1 to October 1, we have had 54 initial eligibilities conducted. That's 54 new students have either been found eligible or came into our district with an IEP. That's a tremendous amount of students when our schools didn't open up until the end of August. 31 of those 54 came to us from out of district. So we have a sign out there somewhere on Route 9 or somewhere that says, bring us all of your students with disabilities because our population, our teachers do a great job with them. And when you look at our top 3 exceptionalities, the top 3 are autism, learning disability, and other health impairment. Compare that to last year, we had 22 from out of district, and our top 3 exceptionalities were speech only, learning disability, and autism came in 3rd. So we've shifted our continuum drastically there. Again, talking about over-identification, on our percent of eligibility for 2025, that was 71%. In 2024, it was 78%. So that's important for us to understand. Our staff at schools are giving us good referrals into the pipeline. We don't have bad referrals coming out of schools where teachers are saying or parents are saying, I think my child has a disability or I think this student has a disability. We're getting good referrals out of there. Excuse me, next slide, please. When we talk about student count, I apologize, they're a little bit small if you're looking at there, but you can see them on your sheet there. Of the 5 schools that are there, the 5 elementary schools represented there, Blue Ridge remained constant from last year to this year in terms of students with disabilities in their total population. North Jefferson went up 2%. Page Jackson remained the same. Ranson went up 5%, and Shepherdstown remained the same. So 2 of the 5 schools that you see up there increased in their students with disability population. The other 3 remained constant. Next slide, please. On the next slide, we see that C.W. Shipley increased 5% on their students with disability. South Jefferson increased 1%. Wright Denny remained the same. TA went up 1%, and Driftwood went up 1%. So CW had the greatest population increase of students with disabilities. When we look at the middle schools, the next slide, Charlestown Middle School increased 1%. Harpers Ferry increased 3%. Shepherdstown increased 1%, and Wildwood increased 3%. So 2 of the 4 middle schools increased 3%. The other 2 increased only 1% in their population. And finally, when we look at the high schools at Jefferson increased 2% and Washington increased 3%. So our schools overall are increasing in their population of students across the continuum. It's not just one population or one district area there. Next slide is our LEAP program. Our LEAP program is the program for students who require significant support for autism. We did a shift about 3 years ago. Our facilitators came to us and said, we want to attempt to reduce the stigma attached to disabilities. And when students have an autism classroom, that's a stigma that's attached there. And I can say that as a parent. I can also say it as a professional. So we came up with, our facilitators came up with the Language Enriched Academic Program, or our LEAP program. After 3 years, that's just another part of our lingo. We don't call them an autism classroom. They are a LEAP classroom, which is, it's a nice change there. From 2022 to 2025 on the continuum there, you see that we had a 64% increase in our autism population. From 2022 to 2025, we've increased 64% of our population in this exceptionality alone. That's a 20% increase on all of our students with disability population. And that represents 13% of our students with disability population. For our students, that's 1 in 47 students. Why am I giving you all this data? I'm giving you all this data because our LEAP program is the greatest growth, is showing the greatest growth in our district, right? In every district, but we only care about Jefferson County right now. It's showing the greatest growth. So we're showing a 1 in 47 students in Jefferson County. The US population is 1 in 31. We're not far off that continuum. Okay, again, over-identification or lack thereof. When we look at the next slide, if you kind of dig down into it, you should look at the green. If you look at the green, so the blue is our LRE 0. That's our students that have the least restrictive environment, the students with the least amount of accommodations for their day. The red is the next level. Green is our highest level. So the green is the highest level of accommodations or services or supports or restrictions that we have in Jefferson County. And you see that from left to right, the green has increased. And the reason that that's increasing is because we are seeing a greater need for the students that are coming into our population being served in our LEAP classrooms. We're seeing greater maladaptive behaviors. We're seeing greater language deficits. We're seeing greater just not coming in with basic understanding of things that students of that grade level have. When that happens, then we have a greater need for staffing supports or specialized staffing. That includes our registered behavior technicians, that includes our BCBAs, and that includes our facilitators, our itinerant supports, those people that can go out and support in the field, because the autism population is not one in staffing that we have a great abundance of qualified people for that either. So we are training our own on the ground every day. Next slide is our learning disability. From 2022 to 2025, we saw a 15% increase in this, so much less when we compare it to our LEAP program, but we have seen an increase there also. We went from 517 last year to 536 this year. The next slide is our other health impairment. That's our third big one that we usually look at and report. Our other health impairment bring into all those other things that don't fall under the autism or the ED or the SLD. There, we've only seen a 6% increase, and there are some theories that our team has in terms of why we're not seeing as steep of an incline there as we do in some other ones. But that we'll save that for another conversation. Our next slide, we're going to go into our annual desk audit. So just a little overview of the annual desk audit. We talked about this last year. So the purpose of the annual desk audit, this is a federal guideline. These are federally mandated that every LEA, every school district in the United States must follow. They all set their own standards or their own percentages that can vary as long as it meets the federal guidelines. It does promote equity, accuracy, and continuous improvement, and it aligns general and special education systems together and compares them. Next slide, please. It reviews the student performance, it reviews growth, it reviews graduation data, and it supports school improvement planning. So it gives us a snapshot to allow us to build out what our next year's goals or years down the road goals need to be. It monitors our LEA compliance with IDEA Part B. That's where our federal funds come from. It reviews IEP documentation, evaluation services, and then it finally identifies corrective actions or needs for technical assistance. So there are times that we will come back and we will have to make changes, or we will be put on, not probation, but we're told that we have to correct this and then report back to them, and then they will release us. Our biggest one took us 2 years to get off. It had nothing to do with us. It had to do with the state of West Virginia determining how they were going to certify our sign language interpreters. The state did not have a way to certify them. Ours came back uncertified. They wouldn't release us from our last monitoring for 2 subsequent years while they figured out how that was going to occur. We finally got our letter, I believe it was in February or March, that we were released, just in time for us to start again next year for our monitoring cycle. So if you'll skip up 2 slides there, please. That one there, thank you. So the Jefferson County Special Education Effectiveness Indicator is measured by the annual desk audit. It comes out every May. Many of these data points that you look at are lag data. So not everything is from the 24-25 school year. Some of it goes back to the 23-24 school year, and then they report it on the 24-25 annual desk audit. It makes it kind of hard to plan or to celebrate a lot of things, or to look at the hard work that was put in and say, gosh, we have to wait till next year to see whether that really paid off or not. And then there are 42 unique indicators that are reported out. The next, I did include in there what our matrix looks like. Our matrix is a 2-page. You can go to the next slide, please. Our matrix is, I'm sorry, I didn't put it in there. You're good. Is 2 pages. I'm going to highlight some of those things on the slides that are to come. For our 24, if you're looking at this page, the first page on the ADA, our results percentage for the 2024 school year was 47.54%. And this past year, it was 65.14%. In the world of grading, that's only a D. And we recognize that's only a D. But in the world of looking at all the different data points that are there are a lot of places where we did show growth. And there are a lot of places that I'm going to tell you it's going to be really tough for us to grow. For instance, if we look at indicator 7A, indicator 7B, and indicator 7C, 7A, 7B, and 7C have 2 prongs. I'm on this page, Dr. Joy. Okay. They have 2 prongs. The first prong, it looks at the student, and did the student make growth? Okay, that's the 7A on the first line. The 7A on the second line, it looks at that. It looks at all of our students in pre-K that are exiting out of pre-K, and how many of those students are now with their typical peers. So in other words, how many students did we say, you don't need any supports ever again exiting pre-K? It's almost, I'm not going to say that's impossible, but that's a lot tougher. That's a lot tougher mark to hit. So I am very pleased on 7A, 7B, 7C to say that the work of the pre-K teachers and the pre-K facilitator met all 3 of those first prongs on 7A, B, and C. That did not happen, and that has not happened for many years in the past. So I'm very proud of the work that they did and the supports that have gone into placing that. One other thing I want to bring up is indicator 8 that talks about parent involvement. That is not measured by us. That will not come up until we are in a monitoring year and the monitors come out and do that. Otherwise, that data does not come into us. And we are in monitoring year on the 26-27 school year. So next year we will be having the monitors in our county at some point in time doing that in-depth monitoring status. And then the next page is the compliance matrix. So one is the academic or the performance matrix. The other one is compliance matrix. And we scored on that at a 97.62%. Last year, we were at 88.75%. So we showed a growth there. Overall, when both of them are put together, we were at an 84.30%, which is a meets requirement. Last year, we were on our 2-year needs assistance. So you go into needs assistance for 1 year, you go into needs assistance for 2 years, you go into 3rd year. that's when the state comes knocking and they put an office down here with us and they start changing things. So we were very excited to have them meet requirements, which shows that the work that the team is doing is starting to come to fruition. Are we where we want to be? Absolutely not. Nowhere near. But have we shown some growth? Yes, we have. So the next slide there does show how our performance goes. So in 2022 was our highest. We were at 80%. And then we dipped down in 23, 24, we went up a little bit, 25, we took a fairly substantial growth there. From 22 to 23, there was a big dip there, but the state also changed how they monitored, which made it very much harder. And they really changed the criteria for all districts. Go back one slide for me, please. Thank you. So on the indicators, on graduation indicator, our graduation rate is only 83.33%. That is the percentage of students with disability who graduate on time. Some of that factors into those students who drop out. Sometimes that focuses into students who are deceased. Sometimes that focuses in students who are on the alternative diploma. Sometimes it goes into a number of different things that are or are not in our control. And you can see that we're definitely saying there's something that we've got to do there. We've got to get better on this graduation rate and get that over top much higher than it is. The dropout rate is very concerning also. The dropout rate of 11.11% is for any student is not something we want to see, but especially for students with disabilities, that is an extremely high dropout rate. Some of those students, we do see some tendencies of students with disabilities who are retained. So when they get to 9th grade, when they get to 10th grade, some of them are already 17, 18 years old. And they have the ability to drop out, and they do drop out. But we are working through that. We are working with Mr. Hillman and Responsive Education Department with Washington High and with Jefferson High. There are bi-weekly meetings that he has with the staffs at Jefferson High, and we have a representative on that team also to work through those things. In terms of the discipline, we were at 1.61%, which is great. We need to be below 3%. That's just discipline for students that were over 10 days or those students that were expelled and had a disability. So we did meet that category, and we're really happy about that. Next slide. When we look at the 3B proficiency, so our strengths occurred for English. On grade 4, we were at 20.41%. The state set the target of 17.4. On grade 8, you can see that we were over the target, and on grade 11, we were over the target. That grade 11 mark is tremendous. And we'll see later that's the SAT, but those students with a disability at 22.41% compared to where the state was, compared to where our target is that where we want to be? Absolutely not. But that's a tremendous value right there. And then when we look at math, we were over the target for grade 8 and grade 11 as well. For our weaknesses, we show a weakness on grade 4 for math, and we are working through that. And our participation dips in the upper grades. So as we do have a participation score of 95% or more for us to get our point or our partial point there. As our students get older, they only get scored in 4, 8, and 11 grade. And if they go below 95%, then we don't get those points. And then we also have a gap in early math performance, or that 4th grade math performance shows between our students with disability and our general education students, there is a fairly significant gap. The next slide talks about 7A, which I've already touched on. I don't want to rehash that, but you can take a look at that. The next one is 7B. Again, that's a pre-K indicator, which we did meet the target on. And then on 7C is appropriate behaviors, which again, we met the target on growth, but we did not meet the target on achievement. Other noteworthy performances or indicators that came out of this are 5A through C and 6A through C. So 6A is our regular early childhood placement. So this is the percentage of students that are receiving their services in the pre-K classroom, as opposed to either being drop-in for services only or into a special education setting for pre-K. We did meet the target there, 57.61. That did increase from last year, so I'm really proud of the work that happened there. For separate settings, again, we are below the target. And then in home placement, we had 0% of our students in pre-K in home placement, which is great. That means all of our students there are getting some type of setting with Jefferson County Schools as opposed to in a home setting. Our weaknesses for the general education full-time, this is for our K-12. We're showing that it's only a 56.1%. That's going to come back into play a little bit later or in a couple minutes when we talk. Separate classroom is 8.24%. The state wants it to be below 6%. Again, that's that self-contained environment. And then our special schools environment was 1.73 as opposed to being below a 1.4. So that does include our out-of-state placement, but also includes our homebound students. And we talk about the necessary or the other health impairments that our students are going through does sometimes warrant that they be placed on homebound because that's what their doctor has placed them on, and we can't override that. So we'll move into our GSA data now. And again, I'm not going to bore you by reading all of this because I know we are all competent, educated individuals. For the first one, though, it does talk about overall, that's GSA for math. That's also the SAT or the SAT for math. So everything math performance in Jefferson County Schools, 3rd grade to 11th, 3rd grade to 8th grade, and then 11th grade lumped onto there. With the exception of specific learning disability, we were above the state average on every category. You will see some 0% there like blindness and low vision, deafness. That means that our subset was not scorable. So if we're below 10, they don't score it. So that's why those most likely were at a 0%. But otherwise, we were above everything in the math. For English, we were above the state in everything. There was nothing that we were below the state average on for those. When we go into the next one, we start driving down into each individual grade. The first thing I will tell you is that we recognize in my department there's a big gap here. One of the things that we do monthly is that in our core team or our facilitator team, we do sit down and we look at data and we drive down the data and we say, what is going on? What do we need to change? How can we change it? So in 3rd grade for math and 3rd grade for English, there is a gap there. If you see asterisks, that means that those numbers were below 9 and I did not report them out because they are identifiable for those students. So I did not report those for you. And I can't even give them to you. But there are some that I've reported 9 on, but I did not go below 9. If it's a dash, that means that there was none in there, but it was a scorable category. Like if you look at learning disability for 3rd grade math, there's a dash. That means that no one exceeded standards on that. So we can move on to the 4th grade math. We can go through each one of these. I don't have anything in particular that I want to read to you. I anticipate there will be some questions, generally speaking, that we can address. But when we get to 6th grade math, on 6th grade math, we were above the students with disabilities for West Virginia. And then in 6th grade English, we were above the state. Again, we do not celebrate that greatly because the percentages are still very, very low. But we do measure ourselves against the state, obviously. When we go into 7th grade math and 7th grade English, we did fall below the state on both of those categories. And then when we get into 8th grade, for mathematics, we were above the state. And then for English, we were above the state. When we go into the 11th grade for SAT, there's been questions asked in the past, how many students are testing? And that's a very valid question. So when we look at the 11th grade SAT, SAT, 95% of the students with disabilities in 11th grade in Jefferson County schools took the SAT. So we're not talking about a small percentage. We're saying 95% of our students took it for math and English. In West Virginia, the participation rate was only 93%. When we look at the students with disability for math, that was 7.14%. When we look at the English for our district, it was 21.43%. I think that needs to be highlighted, that the students with disabilities in English scored above the state as well as above all Jefferson County schools in English. That's a highlight. It's not a great percent, but that's a highlight. And I read through this presentation again today. I said, did I make a typo there? No, when I went back to Zoom, West Virginia, it was accurate. Looking at our cohort data. So the next slide is the cohort data comparing students in third grade to when they were in fourth grade, not third grade to third grade, because we're not looking at apples to apples. So for third grade to fourth grade, those students increased for math and they increased for English. When we look at the fourth grade cohort, then testing for fifth grade, both of those decreased. When we look at the fifth grade going into sixth grade, both of those subtests increased. Sixth grade to seventh grade, they both decreased. And then seventh grade to eighth grade, the math increased and the English decreased. So we see some trends there, some possible trends there as well. Next slide that I think it's important to share with you is that one of the things that I challenge my department to is to come up with department goals. This is not a directive from Dr. Bishop. It is a directive that he supports, but it's not a requirement for him, for our department to develop these goals. And what these goals do is that they are directly linked to one or more of my facilitators that work in my office. It is one of their 2 professional goals that they also have to respond to. But it also looks at the district to say, what do we need to get better with at the district? The first one is goal 1 is to reduce the personal care aides by 10% by the end of the school year. And we are looking at personal care aides can oftentimes be a hindrance more than they are a support. And as students get older, they rely on this person more and more when really they might not need that much support, because as they graduate out, they're not necessarily going to have that adult standing beside of them and supporting them as they go through. So that is one of our things to look at. How do we fade them if possible? If it's not possible, if the IEP team feels like we've got to have them, we keep them. But those that have built up the ability to regulate on their own, then we do look at fading them. Goal number 2 is to increase the assistant superintendent and director visibility with all principals. We do have a goal, and we are going to conduct face-to-face meetings, intentional face-to-face meetings, not just popping by or stopping in for an IEP meeting and seeing how the principal's doing, to sit down with them, to talk to them about what is going well, what is not going well, what do they need support with, so that they have intentionality in the fall semester and in the spring semester from our department. And the principals that we have talked to are very excited to be able to have that face time with us. Goal 3 is monitoring the transition plan. We are achieved 90% implementation of fidelity of transition plans. With us coming into monitoring, this is one of the big areas that we did not receive our credit on when we were monitored the last time. Mrs. Horning and Mrs. Hughes have done a tremendous job working with schools. Thank you to the board for approving 2 jobs, one 2 years ago, one last year, which was a transition specialist, working with our students with disability, getting them job coaching in the schools and out of the schools. So that's working very well there. The pre-K ELRS oversight and improvement. This is the indicators that we talked about earlier, the 7 A, Bs, and Cs. And then AAC implementation, one of our most important things. In my opinion, if you have a student who cannot vocalize what they need, how they're feeling, what is going on, we have to have the mode for them to do that. So we have really stepped up. Mrs. Pangle has taken over this, and she is really working with some outside people to ensure that every student that needs an AAC, needs an iPad with an app to communicate, they will have it in their hands. Teachers are being trained in that. Speech therapists were trained heavily today for 2 hours on it. Pre-K teachers were trained for 2 hours today. All pre-K teachers and aides were trained in this morning. So we're really excited about the AAC implementation as well. Just to kind of wrap up the fall review, we have some data there, our top exceptionalities, as well as our desk audit performance. And then the next slide is our goal overview. And then finally, our next steps. The first step is to continue our data-driven monitoring under IDEA. And this did come up, and I do appreciate Dr. Bishop collaborating when he didn't really need to. but collaborating with me and my department to say, how do we, as we're building out the district goals, how do we bring special ed into this? And when we're looking at this, we are doing a deeper and more intensive monitoring. I shouldn't say we, I'm not putting this on my facilitators. I have developed a schedule that every school will be monitored either in November or December to begin with. And I will be going out monitoring 10% of their IEPs randomly. I will just send them random IEPs I want them to pull. I will go in using the rubric that the state provides to us that they will be looking at next year. I will go through all of that. If there are changes that need to be made, we'll have to hold IEP meetings. If there are accolades to be given, we'll be doing that. So those schools that were monitored in November will be monitored again in January, then again in March. Those that were monitored in December will go to February, then again in April. So by the time that we are done in April, we will have monitored or audited. I don't like the word audit, but we will have looked at a little over 30% of our population of our special education files, looking for all of those things that the ADA hits, as well as our monitoring hits, as well as the board goal for national and state laws there. We want to strengthen inclusion, transition, and communication systems. And then finally, we want to focus on sustainable staffing and the instructional capacity. Those are our big three takeaways that we're looking at right now. And I wish that it was as simple as those big three rocks, but there are many, many, many other rocks that are chipping away also that we're engaging in. So that is the presentation that I have for you for this evening. And I will entertain questions that may have.
I have some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
The percentages that you recited, that we don't have those. So I'm wondering, just a second, let me just start with this. How did you calculate those percentages? Do you calculate at the beginning? So like, let's go back to page 6. Like a percent increase, is that, did you look at the number of students with IEPs or in special ed in relation to all students and find that percentage? Or
Yes, ma'am.
did you just, how did you calculate those?
I did percent of increase for them. So I looked at last year's, took our presentation from last year that I gave to you, added the students with disabilities, the general education students, put them together, put that in the denominator, and the numerator put our students with disabilities. That gave me my percentage of total population that was special ed. Did the same thing for this year, subtracted this year from last year, got the percentage I gave to you.
Okay. And there's nothing in here about the different categories, like low socioeconomic, African Americans. How are these percentages? Like, I think it was about 16% for the county, 16.3. What does that look like for these other groups? Is it 16.3 across the board, or?
It is 16.3 across the board. So one of the things, Dr. Joy, that my department does not look at is that we do not disaggregate data deeper than exceptionality category. If we have a student that has a learning disability, we know that they are either have a learning disability in mathematics or English. We don't break that down farther into socioeconomic status, ethnicity, because we want to attack the student as a whole and look at where they are there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find out, are you identifying African-American students as having more disabilities than other students, that kind of thing?
Yeah,
So
we do not look at that. We don't drive down.
The state does report that. And
I don't know that the state reports it out under the students with disability. I know they report it out in terms of each of those, but I don't know that they peg down student with disability, then ethnicity. I could not find that on Zoom West Virginia anyway.
I haven't looked in the past month, but they do, and they claim that Jefferson County reports it that way. So there's a miscommunication maybe, but they do report that.
Okay.
I just don't know how it's possible that in every category it's the same. still, like I said, I haven't looked lately, but in the past, it was across the board. Every category, the same percentage, which it's not mathematically,
Right.
reasonable. My other question was, yeah, I appreciate that you recognize that it's not really saying a lot to compare Jefferson County with some of the poorest counties in the state. I'm glad that you recognize that, because I'm trying to find my other question. I had a question about some of your goals, because I'm concerned about progress monitoring and whether or not that's happening. Is it supposed to be quarterly? And
So-
is that what you're going to be spot checking, or?
So we have an expectation, which follows on West Virginia law as well as IDEA nationally, that progress reports go out quarterly. Progress reports are printed for every single student. They will go home on Friday with the students in their backpacks. Now, there can be a big gap from the school to home, whether it gets thrown away, whether it gets left at school, whether I don't know what happens to it. The difference between our progress reports and grade reports is that they can look on Canvas and see grades. They can't look on Weavis and see progress reports. We have stated, and we did put out in, Ms. Springer put out in the JCO in the know, that progress reports will be coming home. If you don't see a progress report with your child's report card, reach out to the case manager or reach out to the department. That is one of the monitoring things that is one of the bullets that we go through when we do monitoring as well. But yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's good that you let parents know. So for North, I calculated the percentages for these schools, and I saw that North Jefferson, over 30% of the students are in special ed.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, what is the legalities of that, or are there any? I guess if it was over 50, then that's probably not allowed. That would be considered a different kind of school.
Not necessarily. That's a blanket statement that I can't say yes to.
Yeah, I'd like to know if it's just extremely high, and
It is an extremely high, and that's one of the things that Ms. Horning and I have looked at and have already been talking to Dr. Bishop about, is because I believe, and I'm going off memory, but I believe the population at North Jefferson went down from last year to this year, which is naturally going to make that percentage go up if we did not take students with disabilities with that population that went out. But when we talk about that, we do look at percentages and we do look at exceptionalities, but it depends on, so your grade levels, as you I'm sure know, your grade levels are up to 50%. You can't go over 50%. You can't go over 30% without putting a co-teacher in the environment with them. And then you can't go over 50% in any special education environment unless it's a self-contained environment.
but there's no rules about a school having a large percentage of children with special.
There is not a rule. I can't tell you that that's not going to flag someone at the state, that when they come in and monitor, they won't look at this and say, we're going to that one because they have a high percentage. There's all kinds of different workings in how they do their magic, but that's kind of what they look at.
I guess the last question is related to that other goal of reducing the personal care assistance. I mean, it would seem like you're already doing what is best for the child at every IEP meeting. So if you have a goal to reduce that number, it seems like maybe the team would feel incentivized to remove, because why wouldn't they have removed it already if they didn't really need it?
Sure, that's a great question. So the first piece I need you to understand is that my facilitators do not sit at every annual IEP. So my facilitators don't have that incentive sitting there to get that removed. These are the school-based. in the school doesn't reflect back on our goals here at the state or at the district level. But one of the things that I think that we need to understand is that as students get older, as our students become more independent or are showing that their independence is there, they've learned the skills that they need to learn that had ebb for them, then if the team, and we have many parents, Dr. Joy, who say, I'm ready to transition out. They're independent. I'm ready to pull that back. I want to see them be independent. So we will never, I do not want anyone to ever think that there's some incentive out there that if we can get to this, you're going to get a bonus. That's absolutely not the case at all. And if this is a goal that we don't make, then we need to work harder. What we have to make sure of, though, is that if a personal care aide is in place, they are there for the best interest of the student, not because the team may feel like more adults is going to make that student be more supported or be better academically.
Yeah, I mean, I understand all that, but so that's coming back to the same question. So, but aren't you doing that already? So where is it failing? Is it?
So we have not had that practice in the past. That has, over the past 2 years, my team, my BCBAs and my facilitators have really went through an intensive rewriting and developing a rubric for when students need a personal care aide, when students can get supports through maybe the ECAT like the other students can. And then also looking at when they meet certain goals, can we fade them out? Can we fade that support back? And our BCBAs do a great job of monitoring that data, collecting the data and say, hey, we're not seeing aggressions. We're not seeing incidences of maladaptive behavior. When we faded that person into the background still in the classroom, the data stayed constant. So when we bring that data, that's what we base it off of, not opinion-based. It's all data-based for why they have that person.
That's good that you have a rubric. It sounds
ma'am.
like then there's a disconnect with the special ed team, that the communication of, because the aides, they will know more of what a child actually needs, but they're not part of this meeting. Is that correct? So they only give their opinion?
Sometimes the personal care aides are there. Always the personal care aides are the ones that are collecting the data. They're the ones that are reporting back to our BCBAs or to our facilitators. This is what's going on. They have more of a voice in it than you might think they would. Just because they're not sitting at the table, they are producing that data back. They are giving those notes to the teacher to send home, or they're giving those notes to the central office personnel. So
what is new is that there is now a rubric, and that this will be used to evaluate, because perhaps people have noticed that they felt like maybe this child didn't need an aid, but why do they still have it? And there's no
absolutely
accountability. So now
there's two rubrics. There's a rubric to get one, then there's a fade plan rubric. So we've implemented 2 rubrics over the past 3 years. Yes, ma'am.
that helps to understand that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
No, thank you.
I have a question, please. Dr.
ma'am.
Wink, thank you for the information that you shared. When Dr. Joy was asking you a question about North Jefferson, you said the population had gone down. Is that because the autistic program that used to be housed at North Jefferson is now housed at Ranson Elementary School?
No, ma'am. And I do want to clarify, I made a assumption or a possibility that, and I don't have the 24 school count for North Jefferson in front of me, but
Okay.
I believe that they did go down. However, the LEAP program, both LEAP programs at North Jefferson are still at North Jefferson. We have had the need to open up additional ones. So every LEAP program you see is not one that folded up and moved. It was additional ones that had to be put in place.
Okay. Okay. Because I know I've had some parents tell me that their children used to go to North Jefferson and were in that program, but the program was moved to Ranson and their children have been moved to Ranson. So that's why I was asking the question.
And that's a great question, Ms. Bratton. So to follow up on that, what our facilitators did, I don't take any credit for this.
Mhm.
Our facilitators came in over the summer out of their contract time, and They worked with Mr. Willingham and the transportation department to try to look at where we can get our LEAP students, our LEAP program students back to their home campus or closer to their home campus so that they are not on the bus for more time than they have to be. That's really when students moved, that's what occurred, is that they were lucky enough to go back to Ranson and they have siblings there, which was amazing, or it's a closer campus to their house, which definitely helped Mr. Willingham and Mr. Trineri. But when that student moved, they were backfilled. We had, Dr. Bishop was in Christie's office and he saw 2 large posters of student that were coming in that had to be placed in the LEAP program. It was kind of staggering, but the team did a great job of getting all that together. But thank you for bringing that up, Ms. Bratton. That's kind of what that looked like.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wink, as well.
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your plan to improve the academic achievement of students with disabilities?
So one of the things that has to be done, Dr. Joy, is that when we talk about LREs, and I don't want to get into weeds of that, when we talk about where a student receives their education, we have to look, and I say we as in I put this on my shoulders and I also put it on my team's shoulders. We've got to look at the percentage of students who are receiving their education in an LRE of 2 or in a self-contained setting, as opposed to being in the environment with their certified content-rich teacher. It starts at the elementary level. And we have a very high rate where students are in a pull-out setting and they're not there with their typical peers to get the education. They're not there with that content-rich general education teacher. And that's not a blanket statement that we can make. That's not something that we can say, you 5 are all going here because I don't like the color shirt you're wearing. That is not how we do that. That is a IEP team decision where we look at where is the best placement for them. But we do need to look at that. But the problem with doing that, and I know that Mrs. Loring and Dr. Bishop are cringing right now, when we do that, that increases the amount of staffing that we need. Because right now with the special education teachers that are in the class, in the schools, they're servicing them through a self-contained. That's where our percentages come in that Dr. Joy talked about. If we try to push the model over to being in the co-taught environment for some more of those students to allow them access to that rich environment, those rich teachings, that increases the special ed teachers that we have to have there. So it's a catch-22, but I know in working with Dr. Bishop for the 2 years that we have, he will do what we have to do that's going to be best for academic achievement. And we do have a school that is kind of piloting this on their own this year. I found out through administrator the other day, which is amazing. But her early data is saying that the kids that they are actually code teaching as opposed to being self-contained, the Ames Web scores, the GSA benchmarks are soaring, and many times they're above the general education students. So it's going to be interesting to see that. The other thing that we are doing is that last year we had the PD3 model. Nothing cryptic there. That stands for professional development, 3rd grade. This year we rolled in PD4 as well as PD3. So we have 4 schools last year that did PD3. We have 5 schools this year that are doing PD4, including the same 4. So we're looking at that as well as bringing our general education teachers together with our special education teachers. We are partnering or trying to partner greater. I am trying to do a better job of partnering with CNI or Department of Teaching and Learning, whatever we are calling them now, Mrs. Mahoney, to ensure that what we're doing is content rich there. And finally, what we were doing is when we went in May, we took a group down to over to Morgantown to be Strive trained. That was the beginning steps of the SAT process and really looking at students, looking at their looking at the intervention, being more intentional with intervention, being more intentional with data-driven intervention. That's really falling on Ms. Mahoney and her group. And she's done a nice job of pushing that out, as well as looping special education into there as well. So those are some big things that we're trying to do. And it's going to take time. It's not going to be an overnight thing.
What about summer enrichment? Is that a possibility?
So it could be. Again, we're looking at a fairly significant amount of funding that's not provided by the state for that, like it is provided for the 3rd Grade Success Act. There is nothing that prevents our students with disabilities from participating in the Third Grade Success Act. In fact, many of our students did fold over into that in the summer and work with those teachers.
I mean, programs like Alex or iReady, those that are used for summer school.
So I'm not from, I don't know about summer school because our ESY is hands-on. And the other thing that I have a fairly strong opinion on is that programs do not provide intervention and growth. It's a person that provides that intervention and growth, and especially for our students with disabilities, we don't get the greatest growth from putting them in front of a computer and saying, take this, play this game, do this, and really drive down to where they are. So we want that hands-on differentiated instruction for our students with disabilities if we're going to really move their needles in the summer.
So do you ask for that? Do you ask for that from Dr. Bishop?
Ask for,
Summer enrichment, is that a possibility? Has it been a conversation or?
it's a conversation I'm happy to talk with Dr. Bishop about. I think that, yes, it's a conversation I'm happy to talk with him about. There's a lot of
All
different.
students that are, not up to the level, maybe we could start offering.
It could be something that we could look at. There's a lot of things I think that we have to unpack that when we start identifying students having a disability, being a low score recipient, and then we're going to make you go to summer school. We've identified
I didn't say to make anybody, but.
but we're identifying them and putting that.
No,
we're
and I
putting
said
that flag.
anybody, not just children with special needs, but anybody that's not achieving to offer something so that they can fill in the skill gaps.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I know Dr. Bishop will want to meet with me about. So.
I just have a couple questions, or just a couple statements as well, and then you can do with them what you want. But the LEAP program, I noticed that you have here, it looks like it's, I mean, it would seem to me that there may be a correlation with our COVID children in the way that those numbers are increasing drastically since 2020. Do we have anything that shows that maybe that is why, or what is happening with that at all?
Respectfully, I will say no to that. And because I will say no. We don't go down that rabbit hole. That's not something that we want to start looking at, because then with all due respect, Ms. Joy or Mrs. Ogden, you kind of get into that thing of what causes autism. And that is not where, I mean, and I know that's not intentional, but it just takes one parent to say, you're saying COVID caused autism. No, ma'am, I didn't say that. So, we try again to treat them as students with the exceptionality of autism, and that's how we're going to push it.
My thought was not that. My thought was more of, since we're seeing the extreme increase since then, are those the children that did not get the preschool things that they needed because they were not exposed to some of those things as well, even to be able to combat some of those limitations from birth to 3. Do you know what I mean?
I do, maybe, but you wouldn't see them on the 25 because those would have been babies and they wouldn't have gotten really the pre-K, or the birth to 3 wouldn't have came in probably till 21, 22.
So I'm saying from 22, we had 95. And in 25, we have 176.
So one of the questions that one of my chairs asked me when I defended my dissertation on autism and inclusion education was why. And I looked at him and said, I can't give you an answer. I think some of the things that I can tell you are that over the last 10 years, the ability to discern out what is autism on that spectrum has gotten so much better. And that goes back to where I was saying our other health impairment is not going up as much. If you look at our ID population, it's not trending up as much, because I think that our school psychologists are able to tease that out a lot better to say, this is autism. This is not something that's other health impairments. I think that we're better identifying them with possibly the proper exceptionality that maybe in the past we weren't able to do as much.
Are we seeing anywhere in that 95 to 176 where some of those are we seeing maybe an increase in more sensory issues? Are we seeing an increase maybe in more auditory processing delay? Are we seeing, like, is there
Yes,
one or
ma'am.
two specific things that we can see that, again, could be without really targeted early intervention? It is going to increase many of those things. I mean, I know that from personal experience of a child who's
Absolutely.
in that group. So I'm just wondering as well, as I said, when you have pretty much 2 years of a situation where you have children whose needs are not being met in those ways at all, in many cases, are we seeing more of that? And is there something that we may require more of, targeted intervention structures to be able to meet some of those needs so that we can begin to hopefully drop that number rather than, or are there things we need to put into that pre-K kindergarten? Because we know, to your point, some of those babies as well are also going to be showing some of those things. And we want to hit those skill gaps now before we end up seeing this number go from 176 to 250. which I think
So
is
that's a
reasonable.
great question / statement. One of the things that Mrs. Horning, Mrs. Dingus, and Ms. Canaday have been working on and trying to get us to the point that we can take it to Dr. Bishop is to have a pre-K specific LEAP classroom. A classroom that has all of those intensive, really strong interventions that are geared towards a student that needs the LEAP supports in a pre-K environment, as opposed to looking at many other things that we're kind of hodgepodging those things together. That is definitely something that we're trying to do. And I think that that could be revolutionary in the state if we were able to do that. If we could find, but with that, you've got to find the right person that can do that. But you hit the nail on the head there, Ms. Ogden, of that's the biggest thing for us to look at pre-K, getting those pre-K 3 babies into that environment, because they're coming in at 3 years old with an autism diagnosis. I mean, they're getting them earlier than that, but they're coming in at 3 years old with it also. So yeah, you hit that on the head.
And then the PD3, do we have data? I mean, not right now, but can we look at that where people who have done, if we look specifically at targeted, who's done that PD, and then what the scores are or where they are, and then who's done PD4, what the score, can we, look other ways for a correlation there?
Yes, ma'am. And I was going to present this and I didn't want to take up more of the time. But in a nutshell, what you will see, and I can send it to Dr. Bishop, who can send out to all of you all the data that we have broken down that I presented to him at the end of the year. In our 4 schools that participated in PD3, the 3rd grade, their students carried the math for the county. If you differentiate that out, every school that was in PD3 had double-digit growth in math. And I'm talking 11, 18, 20% growth for their students in that grade. That's phenomenal. And we didn't see that in the other schools. And I'm not saying any discredit to them,
No,
but I'm saying that
that's good
there was
PD.
something there
Right.
for English and math that really worked. And whether it's practicing to the test, whether it's practicing the skills and being able to take that across into there, we saw it. And I don't see any reason why we won't see it in 4th grade and 3rd grade as well this year. But I can get that to Dr. Bishop to send out to you. It's already done.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I would just think that if we do see that again, right, with 4th, and then we see that with the PD3 that takes that again, that it would be specifically then, this is what you must do. This is not, you get to choose, this is the PD you must do.
And a
Only
lot of that
because-
Ms. Mahoney is implementing. I do have to give her
Yeah.
credit that a lot of that stuff she has been implementing, because she is at those sessions and seeing it also. So yes, ma'am.
We definitely know she is 100% rock star. Okay, so, and then the other question I would ask, I know, the computer, that model is not necessarily going to work, but I do know long-term, this was, long time ago, back when you had those like handheld video cameras. I remember actually doing something like that for my own child where, because for a few years they were in that self-contained and that's what they had then, transitioning them to a general education. actually videotaping the regular education teacher to be able to provide that video for my child because they were getting, say, 7 words on a spelling test and the regular education first grade was getting 21. And to, for me, I was like, they're losing how many words of vocabulary a week just because they're not getting exposed to them. So, that was kind of a silly, archaic thing to do back then, but I feel like it, we have the technology today. So if we don't have the same level of certified teacher in one room, but we have a good certification of special ed in another, and there's so many behavioral things going on that they have to address, is that something that we could maybe look at to, again, give them the exposure, even for the students who cannot integrate into the general ed classroom because of, behavior issues that then disrupt all of the other classrooms, but.
Sure. Yeah,
Just
we
a
can
thought.
definitely look at that. And I think that we don't want to misconstrue that students that are in a self-contained environment are there because of behavior.
Correct.
That's a small population of them. Most of them are in there because they've been identified for academic struggles or academic gaps. So that's why they're in that environment. But that's something definitely we can try to look at also.
Okay. Last couple questions I have. Oh, the goal that you had for the transition plan, that I'm assuming, is that for high school?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if we had, I counted between the two schools about 386 students. So if there's 2 people that do that,
So
one from last year, one we hired this year?
I'm gonna make you open things up. So transition planning starts in 6th grade. It doesn't start in senior. So when we start to be monitored, if you were to look at the rubric, there's 2 different data points that our secondary schools have. They have the first data point, which is the IEPs I'm pulling. The second data point is how many I'm looking on transition planning. So are things identified? Do they have goals? Where are they going? What is that? Sorry, that was very poor English. So we are looking at everyone 6 to 12 has a transition plan in place when they walk in 6th grade. And then we have Miss Hughes at the central office who does that. And she works with the middle school leads. And I use that lead term loosely because they are still teaching full-time and trying to do this. And then they work with the high school leads as well as the 2 transition specialists, as well as the other teachers that are in there. So there's a variety of people that work on the transition plan. Sometimes a lot of this goes hand in hand with what Mr. Hillman does for the CTE. A lot of our students can fall into the CTE world, and that is their transition plan. That's great. But we do have other students that maybe don't have an interest in the CTE or are the lower performing. So we've got to figure out how do we get them on the job training that they might enjoy to be able to build their transition when they go out.
Okay, so I'm thinking, even if you just looked at the high schools and you divided that number in half between 2 transition people, you're looking at 193 per person, and 90% of that is 173. So,
Again, Dr. Bishop and Ms. Loring are going to cringe, but I'm going to say yes. If you were able to have more, does that allow us to support more students? Absolutely. But
so
are
I'm just
they?
wondering, like, so the point of the goal is to make sure that at least the 90% of them actually have an implementation plan. That's what we're specifically looking for.
So the 90% is to make sure that we're following all of the check boxes that monitoring has us to do, that they have that plan by a certain date. Is DHHR invited to every meeting, whether they show up or not? Have you identified coursework for them to be able to move into? Have you identified where they're going to go after they go out that? Do they have a plan? It's a lot of different pieces that go into that. And transition could look like, as you well know, it could look like a 4-year, a 2-year work, military, any number of different things there. So.
Okay. And then the last point I would make, just as a comment too, I know that we have kind of talked about that over the time, but part of me thinks that the consistency issue as well with the IEPs is the way that we do the IEPs, to your point, because we have them and they're school-based a lot of times rather than central office-based where all the IEPs are printed out. The one or two people are responsible for managing that. You have those meetings. they're boom, 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 one after the other. The teachers are there. You have a specialist person, whether it's occupational or speech, whatever. You're adding those pieces. The parents are in that IEP team, right? Everybody's that team. Everybody makes those decisions for that IEP. And every year that is consistent. They know what to expect. They also know who to expect in that room. There's a lot less turnover, obviously, with the department chair and Ms. Horning and whatnot, than maybe there is with who's doing that at the school base, or who that teacher might be that might change every several years. So I just feel like comprehensively to be able to look at a different strategy for how we handle those IEP meetings, making them consistent and whatnot, not only for the parents, but also for the students and for then the team at your level to be able to see, to your point, we have seen this child progress extensively over the last X number of years. And we've gotten this feedback in, and we can see that now this can happen or that can happen, or we have not seen this child, excel the way that we know that they can. And so we need to see some changes here where they, I think, sometimes get missed. But anyway,
So is the model, just so I can check for understanding, is the model that you're looking at having central office personnel involved more consistently into IEP meetings?
all I have is my personal experience of having those two separate ways where it was the director of special ed for the entire county was the head at the table. The assistant director was the one making sure they had the notes. There was all around the table, you had your principal was usually present at every single IEP meeting for that specific school. And then you had your teachers there, and then you had a regular education teacher, and you had a specials person. Sometimes you had two specials, either a speech and an occupational therapy, so that their needs and interests could also be represented. And then every 15, 20 minutes, you had parents coming in and parents leaving, and you did every single school during a certain time. And it was very fluid. It flowed very well. And again, you had a team representing each specific child, and it was very consistent. All the IEPs were spit out, and they were written, and they were there and prepared ahead of time. And they were all done exactly the same because they were all done by the same people who at least had overviewed them and had them ready. And from there, you could move on, and then it was the same every time. So then the IEP experiences I have had once we came here, obviously we're very different. Usually it was like one person, maybe two. And not that I didn't appreciate those things, and I don't think I had the significant needs that others have had as well. So and anytime I would have asked for somebody, I'm sure they would have been there, but I just felt very much like it was not as well done as it could have been. And I feel like that the needs that needed to be met could have been better. And I know we have made changes. I'm just saying, as an overall comprehensive view, I think it might be good to look at just some other areas and how it's done and get a little bit more consistency.
So I would be happy to come back and open up a bigger conversation with the board regarding that. The two pieces that I will leave you with is that we have 6 facilitators. We have almost 1,300 students. That's piece number one. Piece number two, speaking from a parent of a student who has level 3 autism, and my facilitators are sitting back that will tell you the same thing. I do not want them, nor a team, to ever rush through an IEP. With all due respect, Ms. Ogden.
Yeah, no,
I do not
and
want
I'm not
them.
saying I
And-
felt
but-
rushed.
But
I
if
mean, I had an
we
hour, I
have
had
15 minute,
30.
15 minute, 15 minute, I can go to Ms. Canada who had 3 2-hour meetings last week.
Yeah.
And that's because the parent wanted to be heard, the
Yep.
team wanted to be heard, and that's really, really important to us.
Yes.
And I think that, I would like to open up more of that to talk about what our facilitators do, and how our leads at the school do. But the only other piece I will say to you is that if there have to be 4 members at that table for an IEP meeting. And if that's not occurring, then I need to know that, or Ms. Warning needs, and I can't go back in time and change. I'm sorry, I can't go
Right,
back and change
right.
that. But those things are not legal. And we have told schools that cannot be what's happening. When you have schools that maybe only have one administrator in the building because the other one's out sick or the other one's covering classrooms, maybe that administrator can't be at the table, but there's got to be a district rep that can do that. So that's a bigger
it's a definitely.
box I would like
I
to
said,
unpack with you
definitely
at a
big
later
piece.
time at a board meeting, but yeah, that would
Yeah,
definitely be
and I
something we
think
can
there is
talk about.
definitely value in those facilitators in the schools, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, as a part of the team or to prep that.
Mhm.
And
And each facilitator is in their school at least once a week. That's been my requirement this year and last. They are in the school all day long, every day or a set day. That way school teachers know, hey, on my planning, I can pop in and I can see Ms. Pangle because I know she's going to be in the conference room and I can ask her this question. That's an important piece also that we've implemented this year.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it's worth us at least a conversation. And
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
You
I
know,
would
the
welcome
county
that.
that I had that experience in was, it was a little bit bigger than the county we're in now. So I know
Yeah.
that it can be done. I know that it's a lot, but, and again, if it's a better idea, I'm just
Yeah,
thinking we need
We
to
can
keep
definitely
looking,
have that
always look.
conversation. I'd like.
Yeah, and thank you for this report very much. Appreciate you delving into all that.
Thank you.
Next, we have the JCS accreditation report.
Mr. Hillman's going to come up and address the post-secondary achievement portion.
Evening. Good evening. I'm going to present tonight on post-secondary achievement. If you've seen from the report in the board meeting or in the board update in the minutes, we are in intensive support, which means we are in the red category and we are under 50%. This is the third year in a row, so we're going to go over some of those strategies to improve that. So.
There you go.
All right, thank you. So the first slide I'm going to talk about is how this is measured. So this is measured for students in grade 12. They must demonstrate post-secondary readiness throughout their high school career. And that's measured by end of the year enrollment, full academic year status, which is 135 days of attending school at least, validated exam result, and a validated student transcript record. Move on to the next slide, please. How do we receive credit? By the time of graduation, grade 12 students must demonstrate one of the following during their 9 to 12 career. They must be enrolled in an AP course and must receive a score of a 3 or higher on the exam. They must be enrolled in a dual credit course and must receive a grade of a C or higher. And they must earn the designation of being a CTE completer and earn a workforce ready score on the NOCD exam. Meeting the standard. For the past 3 years, we've been hovering between 40 and 45%. For the 23-24 school year, one of our high schools did get above in the partially meets level, but we were still overall in the does not meet category. Just to be clear, this is also a lagged measure. So rather than waiting until the end of September, adjustments and planning have already been made for the following year, and they've started in October. Foundation is already there. So in general, we have already been ahead of the game this year with a program of studies meeting. This year, we did invite James Rumsey to our first program of studies meeting, which happened 2 weeks ago. Mr. Sherman and Dr. Tress came along. We've had multiple conversations and adjustments to all of these areas with each high school administrative team, and we'll continue these conversations in our programmatic breakouts, program study meetings, scheduling discussions, and our counselor meetings. We have multiple pieces that are currently successful. We just have to find a way to channel those into the way that this indicator is measured. For AP, our AP exam passage rate was 70%, which is pretty high, so we want to continue that success. Dual credit, we have around 300 students between both high schools currently enrolled in a dual credit course. In CTE, for CTE completers, we have increased last year and will increase again this year. We received a Pinnacle Award for being in the top 5 in the state on the NOCD passage rate. We've already adjusted and been innovative the past few years. For example, we've been enrolling sophomores in our Pro Start program at Jefferson High School, which has been a shift and has been successful. This year, Mrs. Moss at Wildwood Middle School and I collaborated on offering a business course for 8th grade students, which will give them a high school credit. As far as improvement strategies, for advanced placement, we're offering to pay 50% of the testing fee for any student receiving a 3 or higher on the AP exam. We'll continue supporting families in need by covering the cost of the exam. Department of Instruction will support staff through supplemental pay for any after-school study sessions in preparation for the AP exams. Both high schools are coming through their AP student list, and we're ensuring we're capturing as many students as possible to take the exam. Sometimes we run into the situation where the student is in the AP course, but they do not take the exam. We're trying to limit that as much as possible. WVU is now offering dual credit for specific AP courses. That could help us. If a student does not get a 3 or higher on the exam, then they would at least get credit for dual credit. For future scheduling, we are using PSAT, SAT, IXL, and Quill data to determine and encourage students to enroll in AP courses. Last year at Jefferson High School, we had 477 AP tests, and at Washington High School, we had 222 AP tests. Some improvement strategies for dual credit. We continue our strong partnerships with Blue Ridge, CTC, and Shepherd. Right now at Shepherd, the Grow Your Own, which is a future teacher program, social work, nursing, and STEM are free pathways and will 100% transfer to any in-state university and may transfer to out-of-state. So we really want to highlight those and continue to put those out. Through Blue Ridge CTC, we have a free jumpstart, also the Grow Your Own, cybersecurity, mechatronics, tourism. We'll continue to offer English 101 through Blue Ridge in both of our high schools. We're exploring offering other in-house courses for dual credit to eliminate some barriers that some of our students have. We're exploring semester courses for this year's spring semester for our seniors. For example, some courses that we can offer for free include psychology and sociology. And finally, we will make a push to increase parent-guardian visibility of these opportunities through social media and other communication platforms. And finally, some improvement strategies for CTE. Completers will increase by over 150 students this year. This is due to the addition of the Career Work Skills program. This captures all of the students that were already leaving school early to go to work. Now they've been enrolled in the Career Work Skills program, so they'll still get to continue to do that and be enrolled in this and help our CTE numbers. We've continued increases in our med ed, baking and pastry, ProStart, ROTC, agriculture, marketing, and coding app and game design programs. We do have to look at the elimination of some courses. We have exploratory courses that are not part of any completer program that minimize opportunities for success in the post-secondary achievement measures. We did receive right about around a $50,000 grant to start a plumbing program next year at RISE, so that'll help with that. We are in the final stages also of adding a welding program through Shepherd University and partner with James Rumsey, Shepherd, and the Steely Foundation. We will continue to bolster our tourism program here at Washington High School and look to add courses in Parks and Rec and agritourism, which is one of the target sectors for our development authority. We will add the fourth and final course in our social services program at Jefferson High School. Social services program was born out of the counselors and their work in the PEPs. A lot of the students were marking social work and that kind of area in their PEP plan. So we worked with the counseling department to develop this social services program at Jefferson. We'll continue to explore schedule adjustments. For example, in the CTE programs, a lot of times we block 2 or 3 periods. We'll offer the plumbing program, and we want to complete this plumbing program in 1 academic year, which would be different than the norm. Typically, that would take at least 2 years. So, post-secondary achievement, any questions? Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Questions? You mentioned the number that passed the AP exams. How many are passing the dual enrollment classes?
I don't have that number here, but we had around 300. Most of the students that are enrolled, I think we're somewhere around the 85% do get a C or above in those courses.
Mm-hmm. Have you considered reevaluating the requirements of students to take the dual enrollment classes?
Yes, we did actually have a conversation about that in our program of studies meeting. So it's kind of been a only juniors and seniors can take those courses. We talked about sophomores being able to take those courses. We generally came to the conclusion of we have a lot of things to figure out before we do that. But yes, we're considering. I think we need to be more public. We need to let parents and guardians know at a better rate. We don't think we're doing that good of a job in that area, so we're going to try to
Yeah.
increase that.
I agree. I was going to ask what that meant by making a push.
Yeah, so that would be a push to increase visibility on online social media. We have been pushing it out in some parent nights. Sometimes those aren't well attended, so we got to kind of pivot there and just push it out as much as we can through electronically.
I think the counselors to let the students know. There's also WVU offers free online economics for high school students.
Right.
And the welding and plumbing, they're amazing for students to get into. I mean, they graduate high school and like 75 to 100,000 a year.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that plumbing. We just got the grant approved last Monday, so we're excited about that. And we already looked at RISE to start outfitting a classroom there. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Not now, but next time when you do the report, can you do that where you look at how many students over the last couple years that we've been doing the dual enrollment, have a C or higher, and so we'd have a percentage for that, the number of students that took the dual enrollment, and then what the percentages are. Same with the last 3 years of the AP pass rate, because I know we've had issues with AP teachers. And so I know we had a mass exodus several years ago, and there was reasons for that, and that maybe we need to revisit. We need to make sure that if we're going to offer those things, that we have solid teachers so that the students are prepared to take the exams. And if they're not, then how do we change that?
Right.
So
yes, I can do that.
That would be it. And then also just also make sure we have the data for those CTE certifications. I know we've talked about the Microsoft certifications and how important they are. And I would definitely want to see the difference between Jefferson and Washington, who's getting those certifications. And if they're not the same or comparable, why is that? And what do we need to make sure that they are?
Yeah, and along with the certification, sometimes students are doing a really good job and the program is doing well as far as students earning the certification, but that they might only be taking 2 out of the 4 classes they need to be a completer. So that's why I'm saying some of these things, there's a lot of good things in place. We just have to channel it the way that the state measures it. So the certifications, those numbers are really high. I wish we could count that somehow,
Right.
so.
Well, and maybe that's something that you say, we can look at the data, we can put that out there. And when we head to some of these meetings and we're sitting with Berkeley and Morgan and some of these other places, we can all begin. I'm sure they're having the same issues, right?
They are.
So we could maybe be talking to them to say, hey, we all need to go put pressure on the state board to say, hey, where can we change this? Or how can we also get credit here? Because I think there is an opportunity for them to listen. They just want kids to do well, but they want to have a broad range of that. But if that's what we're seeing and that's what kids want, they don't have the time, they don't want to take the 4, but they would take this and get these many certifications.
Right.
So that should be an alternative score.
Right.
And it's just a logical piece that maybe just not looking at it, just because they haven't seen that data. So
right, and that's one of the reasons we're trying to change, some of these programs to I don't want to say fast track them, but if we know that seniors might be leaving school early to go to work and they might be in the career work skills, but we want them to complete the plumbing certification and all of those 4 courses, what are some ways we can look at that to get them their junior year, to completely finish that? So that's where we look into blocking that.
You have that for a year, because I was also thinking opposite way of, if a lot of students are completing with 22 credits, right? If you start anything in 8th grade, which some of these students do because otherwise they'd be bored to death.
Right.
And so it's very good for them to do that, but they have that time in 12th grade. They can go get a plumbing certification because they've decided, you know what, maybe college isn't for me. Maybe this isn't for me. I'm going to go make $300,000 a year in this field because
Right.
I don't need to go to college.
Right.
Great for them. And now we can give them a way to do that. So I just think it's fantastic. I think it'll keep kids even in school without dropping out. to give them some other opportunities to do that. So great job for just looking into all these things, Ian. I really, really appreciate the work you're doing in the CTE area.
Thank you.
I'll just make two more
Good.
comments. Indicators. The accreditation report has two components. One is based on the balanced scorecard results, and which Ian just addressed, the post-secondary achievement portion. We also were in support for English language learner progress. Dr. Ebersol and I have met and discussed that, and with our staffing we have in place now, we feel really comfortable about some of the positive traction that we can gain moving forward. The second area is the efficiency indicators. Last year, you might recall that we had 3 indicators that needed assistance: personnel, universal pre-K, and special education. And this year, it's transportation. Joyce and I talked about this last week, and I know that she's working with Mr. Trineri, our new director of transportation, to address this so that we can make sure that we can take care of that moving forward. So we just received this report, and we're already working to improve it for next year.
Thank you, Dr. Bishop. Thank you, Mr. Hillman, for this presentation. I wanted to ask you about the career and technical education. Just wondering, excuse me, if it's at all possible to add like a criminal justice or, you know, something for a child that is interested in going into law, because
Sure.
you know, I see that we have like med ed, baking, pastry, so forth and so on. I just think that that would be a great area to also include in that, if possible.
That is a possibility. So we do have one program now that falls under the law and criminal justice as our MCOM program. I don't know if it's exactly what you're talking about, but that kind of is our 911 dispatch operator program that we partnered with the county commission. And that's taking place at Rise. So, I mean, that is specific to
Right.
911 dispatcher. But I think
But
it
I
opened the
wasn't
door
talking
to,
about a dispatcher. I'm sorry, and not taking anything away. But, you know, we have children who want to be attorneys. We have children who want to go into law enforcement, you know, to be an officer. So a criminal justice type class, I guess, to get them started.
we can, yeah, those classes are built within the state curriculum. So that is a possibility. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We have a law enforcement program at Rumsey, correct?
We do.
Yes. So if Rumsey has the program, Ms. Bratton, then we
Uh-huh.
can't duplicate it, which is why the plumbing program they don't have. So we're first to the drawing board on that one. So, but students
Okay.
who are interested in law enforcement or a criminal justice background can go to Rumsey and the program there, which is very good.
We
Okay.
do also, we don't have that program here per se, but we do also have some law classes that are taught at both of our high schools currently. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The perfect example of what, you know, how we address the community. Our community was the one that said, we really need, you know, people trained in this. So we came and you guys put together a program where we're actually training our kids so that it's helping our kids and it's helping the community. So that's the most beautiful partnership ever. I mean,
Exactly. And that's pretty much the goal of CTE right there. So.
right. Produce productive citizens.
Yes.
There we go.
And help the community and fill the community needs.
Right. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next we have under unfinished business, discussion and possible action on board goals.
Yes, at the last meeting, we had some significant discussion about board goals. You do have a draft before you this evening. At the last meeting, there were only a few recommendations. One was related to special education and meeting the particular benchmarks and requirements. Dr. Wink already mentioned that tonight in his report. That is under goal number 1, item 7. We also have a performance goal for special education under item 6 as well. Dr. Wink provided that in my collaboration with him on that particular item. There was also reference to goal 3 about board training to enhance leadership development and overall function of the board. It was more of a code of ethics conversation that Mr. Upson brought up. So I did list that in a generic way there. And then goal number 4, item 4, the mandate for special education training for the board, which will actually be on October 27th at 5:15 as a special meeting. So those are the only 3 specific things beyond the first draft that I had provided you that you gave feedback on, and those are here for you to consider this evening.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the board goals for 25-26 school year? Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Is there a second? Second. Thank you very much. Mr. Upson, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the board goals for 25-26 school year, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much. Next, we have discussion and possible action on Neola policy updates for August 2025. First batch.
Yes, this is we received 2 separate, well, actually, Lisa and I decided to divide them into 2 batches because of the significant number of policies. So we went through the first, and you have adopted the first round of Neola policies. Now we go back through and adopt new ones based on code changes, et cetera. So the first batch is here for you to review, and we would request that you put them out for community input.
All right. Is there a motion to put out the Neola policy updates for August 2025 for public comment, starting with 0142, 0142.3, 0147, 1422, 1617, 1623, 1662, 2260, 2260.01, 2266, 3120, 3120.12, 3122, 3122.02, 3123, 3217, 3242.05, 3362, 4120, 4120.01, 4120.12, 4122, 4122.02, 4123, 4162, 4217, 4362, 5772, and 7217.
I motion that.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Is there a
Thank
second?
you.
Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Any discussion? All right, and this is the beauty of having the Neola policies where they automatically update them for us.
That is correct.
Right. All right, so the motion on the floor is to approve the following policies to put out for public comment: 0142, 0142.3, 0147, 1422, 1617, 1623, 1662, 2260, 2260.01, 2260, 3120, 3120.12, 3122, 3122.02, 3123, 3217, 3242.05, 3362, 4120, 4120.01, 4120.12, 4122, 4122.02, 4123, 4162, 4217, 4367, 5772, and 7217. All in favor of putting those out for public comment, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we have discussion and possible action on math dual enrollment credit.
Mr. Hillman will come back up and present that.
Good evening again. We are seeking approval for the high school course Transition Math for Seniors 3052, which is a full year course to be offered for dual credit with Blue Ridge CTC. And their fall semester will be Math 100 Math Essentials, and spring semester would be Math 100A Algebra Essentials. This was vetted through a math transition senior teacher, a math department head, our high school coordinator, and our counseling department. A few items with geometry and statistics are not covered, but we fall well into the 80% range for course matching.
All right. Is there a motion to approve Math 100 Math Essentials and Math 100A Algebra Essentials as a dual enrollment credit? Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Upson. Any discussion or questions?
Yeah, I have some questions. I couldn't hear you. What is this the high school equivalent of?
Transition math for seniors.
Oh, it's transitions math. Okay. I've noticed that it depends which school the student goes to, which high school, what they get credit for which classes they take at the colleges. Doesn't seem to be consistent. So how is there a catalog or some database where a parent or student can go and look up what class they could take and what it is the equivalent to at the high school?
We do have a database. To my knowledge, it is not available publicly, but we can make it available publicly. We have a database, and it counts the same at each high school. It's a county-wide agreement for dual credit, regardless of which high school you attend.
So a student at Washington is getting credit for Math 3 for a certain class at Shepherd, whereas a student at Washington couldn't get credit for Math 3 for that class. So that's why I'm concerned. I'm wondering, is it who they ask? There doesn't seem to be clear consistency. I mean, just from my perspective, it could be a unique experience. I don't know, but
Sure.
This is something that I personally observed. So I'm trying to find a way to simplify things for parents and students so that they know. And the other piece to that is I want to make sure students know that if they take certain classes like this one, they wouldn't be eligible for certain sports in college.
Right.
So that needs to be clear too for the public or students, whoever is wanting to take these classes. They need to know up front, because the particular student that's taking a certain class, she attends Jefferson, she has no idea whether, and she plays sports at Jefferson, she has no idea whether it qualifies. Who tells students? How do they find out? It seems like, go ahead, I'll let you answer.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating watching it.
Sure. Yeah, that is frustrating. I think the counselors and the math teachers of the previous year, so they explain, your next course sequence when the students go down the schedule. The counselors certainly explain that. But to your point, we can do a better job, and the better job we do at that kind of dovetails with the presentation I made. So if we are very clear in that, and the students know and families know, then our post-secondary achievement results will go up because students will be in those dual credit courses. So I think we can make that database public. I do not believe it has been made public before, but there's no reason we cannot do that.
Yeah,
So
I mean, even when my daughter did it, it was very vague, and they would ask for the syllabus of the university, and somebody would look, okay, that looks good. It wasn't even a math teacher, be a counselor. Okay, you can take this for that. And so you could see where there's a lot of leeway.
sure.
So you're gonna fix all that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We do talk about those items in our program of studies meetings, and I'll add that to the agenda for our next counselor meeting as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You put on the list, I know when the kids get their scheduling piece and they have to pick what they're taking, whether it's, what math, what English, and then you write in your 2 alternative classes in case you can't get it in your schedule. Is there a way to put on that? And there's like 2 copies of it. I think there's a white and a yellow. One goes to the counselor, one goes home. I don't know where they all go in the, land of paper. But anyway, long story short, is there a way to put something next to that? And also when they send you the list and we send the handbooks out every year, or it's up
As
online?
far as what dual credit courses are
NCAA.
available.
Well, that would be good, but also next to what isn't not NCAA compliant or NCAA compliant, so that they, as an asterisk, if however you want to write it, at least the parent would be able to understand that, oh, that doesn't have an asterisk, so we can't do that if we want this to be an option.
Yeah, I don't see why there's any reason we cannot do that. So yeah, we'll add that to the list. Good timing too, because they're getting ready to print those and get
those.
those ready. Yes.
Also, will these be available then at both schools?
The same scheduling sheet you're referring to?
Yes.
Yes.
And then this approval for the essentials classes, they'll be dual enrollment. Will they have to be taken then at Blue Ridge?
Right now, yes.
Okay.
We are looking at, just like we do English 101 in both the high schools, we're looking at possible ways to get this math class in our high schools as well.
Okay. And the possibility.
So,
Oh, never mind. I'll bring that up later.
I just have another
I'm
question. I
sorry.
think she might
Go
have a
ahead.
question too. I'll be quick. I was talking about Ms. Bratton. This, because you said it's transition equivalent to transitions, but one particular student was told Math 101 at Shepherd, that's for a transitions credit. So there's several that would
Yes.
qualify for transitions.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah. So it depends on which institution. These, the Math 100 and 100A at Blue Ridge are equivalent to the Shepherd. I forget the number off the top of my
Math
head.
101?
101. Yes.
Okay, because the student at Jefferson is getting a Math 3 credit for it, not transition. And that's in her mind. She may have been told wrong, but anyway.
Okay. I will investigate that.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Bratton, did you have a question?
I was going to ask about the Math 101, why it wasn't added to the list that we were just presented with to vote on, but I guess you just answered it for me.
Yes. So the Math 101 at Shepherd is already approved for dual credit. And also Math 101 at Blue Ridge is approved for dual credit. This is to add an additional dual credit course of Math 100 and Math 100A.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have discussion and possible action on request to go out for bid for local food backpack bags.
You didn't
Oh,
vote.
did we not vote on it?
didn't
I'm
vote
sorry.
on the dual credit.
We just had the discussion. All right, all in favor of approving the math dual enrollment credit, say aye.
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 Oppose? Thank you. Thank you. All right, next we have discussion and possible action on request to go out for bid for local food backpack bags.
Good evening. Every year we do the backpacks, and our grant this year is $49,767. So that meets the threshold for us to go out for a request for proposal. So I come before you this evening to ask that we go out to bid to find a local vendor to obtain locally sourced items that will be sent out to students at 3 different distribution points at all schools this year. In addition to food we already provide, the meals we already provide. So I'll await your motion and then answer any further questions.
Is there a motion to go out to bid for local food backpack bags?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Any questions or discussions?
Yeah, I have a question. Did you say this is to go out for bid? Is that correct?
Yes.
It's hard to hear. I just want to ask if you could show us some of these bids sometime. Like previously, I would have wanted to see the documentation about bids. We seem to get a number and not a whole lot more.
Are
So
you talking about the request for proposal?
different in general. No, when you send out, when they, I'd like to have more information about, because there was the question about the one, whether or not they still had their license, I think. And that's what made me, this was.
They have their license, yes.
I'm just saying, this is what brought it up. There was a previous board meeting where there was a construction company that may not have been compliant with their licensing. And that would have been something that, if we could have seen that, it would have been documented there. So that it seems like all we get are the numbers that they offer, but there's not a whole lot of other information? Is it possible to see the rest of the information? Like when they fill out the form with their bid to see, what are they specifically stating?
As long as it's not proprietary information,
Mhm.
absolutely.
That's all.
Any other questions?
I'd just say that's unusual for you to see more than the numbers. I mean, if it's not proprietary, we can do that. But typically, we wouldn't provide like the bid sheet for you to take a look at, but if
It
it's not a
it gets proprietary.
Yeah.
Each vendor has their own profit margin. We go by lowest bid.
Yeah.
And certainly they wouldn't want to disclose that information, which is why you're seeing a final bid. If you're talking about requests for proposals, those can be found on our website and we can provide those to you. But it's very difficult to give you anything other than a number and retain the proprietary information. So all vendors that come before you are thoroughly vetted. They have their licenses, everything's in order, which is why they make it to the final bid sheet and you get a number. If there's not proprietary information, but as Dr. Bishop said, that's going to be very rare circumstances.
So you're saying I should find it on the website, maybe these proposals?
Requests for proposals, yes.
Where would I look? It's hard to find
I'm not the webmaster, but
agendas.
I'll send you a link.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you.
Guess I'm confused. Backpack bags, I guess are for, I know you said we've done it before.
we
I
do
know
it.
we do like the kids' power packs, I
So
think, or-
that,
but-
yes, so part of the money goes to kids' power packs. And we actually give about 10,000 to our social worker, Taylor, and she helps families that are struggling with food insecurity. We give kids power packs money as well to buy foods for backpack kids that sign up for that program. And then we, in the past, have done jams and jellies and little baskets from local vendors that go home with every student 3 times a year. So we offer those kind of opportunities in addition to, like I said, meals that we serve. This is just an additional service that we apply for the grant and get so that kids have a little bit more food.
Thanks for the extra work, because I know it's extra work, so I
And
appreciate
it's
it.
our pleasure to do it.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of going out for bid for local food backpack bags, say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you very much. Next is discussion and possible action to approve an RFP bid for E-rate internet services for school year 27.
Yeah, we're going to do another request for proposal to go out for wide area network internet services. And it's including internet services for all of our facilities and a transport circuit that carries our traffic to and from the state network via West Virginia Net.
All right, is there a motion to approve an RFP bid for E-rate internet services for school year 27? Thank you.
I'm sorry. Did you say that you all are going to bring another internet? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Ms. White, about the E-rate internet services.
Right. It's time for us to go out to bid for internet services, which we use the E-rate program to obtain. Again, it's over $25,000, so it meets the threshold for a request for proposal.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't hear you. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Sorry, Ms. Skinner.
That's okay. So there's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ms. Broughton. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving an RFP bid for the E-rate internet service for school year 27, say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next, we have discussion and possible action on approval to cancel/reschedule the November 24th Thanksgiving week and December 22nd Christmas week regular board meetings held during or due to the holidays.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that we're having this conversation, but it is, well, it is mid-October. In the past, we have rescheduled and we've canceled, so I don't know what the pleasure of the board is at this time. We would meet on November 10th already. That's a regularly scheduled board meeting, as well as December the 8th, which is a regularly scheduled board meeting. So just need to know what your pleasure is about that second meeting in November and December.
I would like to suggest that we reschedule.
So if we were to reschedule, let's deal with Thanksgiving first. We would be looking at the
December 1st.
17th. I'm sorry, Ms. Skinner.
I was gonna say December 1st, pushing it out.
We could push
I
it
was looking
beyond
at the
October.
17th because we have one on the 8th, Ms. Skinner.
Well, we have one on November 10th too.
Yes, I mean, there's going to be a week
Okay.
separating. I think 2 years ago, those meetings were canceled, and then last year they were rescheduled.
So maybe what we could do, looking at the calendar, is move it from the 24th to December 1st, and then move the 8th to the 15th, and that way we still get 2 meetings in December.
Okay.
And they're still 2 weeks apart. They're not back to back.
Okay, so November 10.
So is that moving December 22nd to the week after Christmas? Is that what you're saying, Ms. Skinner?
Well, no, we don't have school the week of the 22nd or the week of the 29th.
So we would still meet November 10. We
Mhm.
would then meet December 1 and December 15.
Correct.
And what's the second?
So it'd be December 1st, December 15th, and then we would come back onto our regular schedule, January 12th.
Right.
Okay. So we would just really have one meeting in November. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Then it's still 3 meetings versus 4, so, right? Yes.
But we also have a West Virginia School Board Association meeting November
Correct.
15th, so. I know that covers December too, because you don't want to have it during the 2-week holiday
Right.
there.
Yeah. That makes sense if that's
Okay.
what everybody would like to do.
So is there a motion to go ahead and not have a meeting on November 24th, but have a meeting on December 1st and December 15th for the month of December?
I motion that we do.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Joy. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of moving the meetings for November and December to cancel November 24th and then have a meeting December 1st and a meeting December 15th. And then we'll resume our regular schedule January 12th. All in
Aye.
favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, thank you. All right, next we have discussion and possible action on the naming of the football field and gymnasium at Harpers Ferry Middle School.
Yes, this is a request from Harpers Ferry Middle School. Policy 7250 speaks to the commemoration of school facilities or the naming of school facilities. And it's reserved for those individuals who have made significant contribution to the enhancement of education generally or in the county, or the well-being of the county, community, state, is determined by the board. The employee of the county thus honored must be deceased or no longer employed by the county prior to the board's selection. There is also an administrative guideline that goes along with this that requires 3 things. One, it requires a request from the school for the naming to be considered. Secondly, the LSIC and the faculty senate both have to concur as well. Harpers Ferry has submitted And then there is a letter there, and I won't go through reading that, but both of these gentlemen, Mr. Benjamin and Mr. Spurgis, have made significant contributions to Jefferson County Schools. And it is a recommendation and request of Harpers Ferry Middle School to name the football field the Roy Benjamin Field, and then the gymnasium, the Joseph Spurgis Gymnasium, after former principal Joe Spurgis. So all the requirements have been met for the naming of both facilities.
All right. I think we should just go ahead and take them separately if you don't mind.
That'd be fine.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the naming of the Harpers Ferry Middle School field, Benjamin Field? Is there a motion?
Hi, motion.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of renaming the field at Harpers Ferry Middle School, Benjamin Field, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, thank you very much. Congratulations, Ms. Benjamin. Next, we have the Spurgis Gymnasium. Is there a motion to rename the Harpers Ferry Middle School Gymnasium Spurgis Gymnasium? Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Upson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of renaming the Harpers Ferry Middle School Gymnasium to Spurgis Gymnasium, say aye.
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 All right, thank you very much. Congratulations, Mrs. Spurgis.
Can I just say that that Roy Benjamin's, his last name isn't Benjamin, it's Benjamin.
Benjamin.
I thought that's what I said.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Benjamin. I'm sorry.
No, B-A-N.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. All right, next we have board member comments and committee reports. Ms. Ogden?
I don't have any committee. I would just say a couple things. Congratulations, obviously, to Mr. Benjamin and Mr. Spurgis, having had a child at Harpers Ferry, and obviously knowing Mr. Spurgis for a long time. Yeah, though I think, Mr. Benjamin has been a great educator, and it's been great to have that personal experience of that as a parent, and to Mr. Spurgis for just creating such an atmosphere there that has long, it's basically a legacy there that has continued even after he has left, and obviously trained Mr. Vandell very well, and he has also risen to the occasion. So I think it's just a testament to his leadership there too. So it was a lot to lose at that school, but it's a great school, and it continues to be a great school. So I just really appreciate all the people who decided to do that, and that's awesome for both of them, definitely. I would just make a couple comments. Number one, as far as the math that we talked about today, I know we have flirted with the idea. I really hope that we are looking at going back to traditional pathways for math. I know that teaching wise for the teachers, it's a lot of work to think about that whole piece, but I do think we can get people in there to actually do the work so it's already done for them. We could do the portal at the same time with the videos that I'm going to keep harping on until I'm gone. Again, I know that it's out there, and I know we're thinking about it. I think it's the right move to make, to go back to that. Also, I think, just as a plug, I like block scheduling. Just going to put that out there. Anyway, and then moving on.
This isn't your Christmas wish list. We just talked about December meetings, but not your wish list.
Exactly, it is. I forgot that's what it is. Also, I was thinking of, I think it would be nice to see kind of a think tank of getting together our educators to see what kinds of things we can come up with, and what kind of changes we may want to see, whether it's a 4-day week, whether it's how we're educating students. we continue to see very, very good seasoned staff leave due to how much money we're able to pay them. And I think we have to get creative with how we view education, and our students are demanding it. Everything is different. The way that they learn is different. I think we can get creative, and I'd like to be able to see some parents and faculty get together and just brainstorm, come up with some ideas and things that they can get behind, that we can move on with. And lastly, I did have a good idea, and I'm not sure if it's happening, but to Kelsey, there's we used to do pins for years of service. And if you got so many years of service, 20, 25, 30, 35, you got a pin for that. And I'm just not sure if we have done that, or if you guys knew that it was even done before we got kind of all new folks in. So if you can just research that, because I've heard from a couple staff members who've been here for a long time. It seems like a little thing, but it's extremely important to them to be honored for that many years, to be able to wear that 25 or 30 or 35 on their lapel. So even if I need to pitch in to pay for it, I will. I just think it's that important. So let me know what we find, but that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Upson? Dr. Joy?
The Parks and Rec meeting is this week, Wednesday. Next week is Epic. There is a free admission event at San Michael's Park, October 18th, from 2 to 9, petting zoo, bands, vendors, beer garden. And I wanted to wish everyone a happy Simchat Torah and Indigenous People Day, or I guess Columbus Day, whichever you celebrate. That's all.
Ms. Bratton?
Thank you. I just want to congratulate the students who, whether it's been in the band or our sporting programs, or whether it's individually, who have competed in anything and actually won, or even if you didn't win, just for competing. I think that's a great thing. But just want to congratulate you and just say thank you to the parents who make sure their students get there, our students get there, and their children. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Bishop, do you have any superintendent comments this evening?
Just a couple of things. One, I just want to reiterate that Steely Foundation grant for $48,000 to start that plumbing program. That'll get us a great jump start on getting set up for that. I've already mentioned October 27th at 5:15 for our special education training required by House Bill 2499. And then the last thing I want to mention is upcoming session on Thursday night at 6 o'clock here in the auditorium. Let's talk about cell phones and social media. We have a panel: Jeff Caesar, Taylor Westrope, Sergeant Edwards from the Internet Crimes Division, Ms. Mahoney, Ms. Reed, and Ms. Group are all going to be a panel to talk with parents about social media use and cell phone use and the mental health issues that students have on occasion from using those apps and other social media outlets that they're so accustomed to using. Students in grades 6 to 12 are encouraged to attend with their parents. They'll have childcare available and some food for people who come. So it's going to be a great evening. But here in this auditorium, 6 o'clock on Thursday. That's all I have.
Thank you. And do we have an executive session for personnel?
Yes, we do.
And do we anticipate action?
Yes.
All right. Is there a motion to go into executive session for personnel with anticipated action?
I'll motion it.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Upson. All in favor of going to executive session for personnel discussion for West Virginia Code 6-9-4-2A, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Thank you very much. We'll be back. Is there a motion to return back to open session? Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Upson. All right, thank you. All in favor of returning to open session, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? All right, thank you. Is there a motion to uphold the superintendent's recommendation to terminate Ray Baker effective October 13th, 2025? Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Is there a second? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of upholding the superintendent recommendation to terminate Ray Baker effective October 13th, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Thank you. Is there a motion to uphold the superintendent's recommendation for suspension without pay effective September 9th for DJ Lagos?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Ogden. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of upholding the superintendent's recommendation for suspension without pay effective September 9th, 2025 for DJ Lagos, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? All right, thank you very much. 8:33, meeting adjourned.